Oh, my thingy fell out. Okay. Well, are we talking? Are we live? All right. Let me just readjust this. So, all right. Welcome to Insert. My name's George. Welcome to Insert. Can we just start doing that? Just like the Jackass intro. And then like you just like get some dude just tackles one of us out of screen.
Oh, please no.
I'll do that.
What's up, Airsofters? Welcome to the Not So Round Table, episode 144, if memory serves correctly. Last episode we talked about some gear setups and some different ways that you can set up your gear. And in that episode, we learned a couple things. One, you guys want to hear about helmets. So next episode,
helmets.
We're going to be talking about helmets, and we'll talk about that prompt at
helmets
the end.
And comms.
In this episode, we touched on, again, in the previous episode, that we'd be talking a little bit about how George and I set up our AEG rifles. Not to say that
we just don't like a
HPA.
GBB, so
yeah.
like, there's really no point in talking about a GBB pistol, in my opinion, because like,
Right.
what can you do? Put a light on it.
Well, I mean, we could do a whole episode on high capas if that's what you guys want. But it would
Matt
really
could
just be me.
Yeah, Matt could do a whole episode on high cap as I'll just sit there and just go.
As a preface, we're both going to be talking about AEGs specifically, just because in a gameplay format, unless you're playing against other people with gas blowback rifles, you will be at a disadvantage. Unless your tactics are just through the roof, and to be honest, George and I don't have tactics that are through the roof.
Well, no, it's just kind of like if you're, for example, let's say you are a very good player, and let's say you're playing against people who are maybe not as good as you.
Right.
You can level the playfield yourself by playing with a GBB rifle. However, there is a plateau of skill levels that once you get to that skill level, you will probably lose to most AEGs, just distance-wise.
And for the intent of this video, we're going to be talking, I would say, mostly about externals, and all of those are going to apply regardless of whether you're using HPA or GBBR or an AEG like the ones that we're showing. So I guess first things first, how do you want to get into it? We've got, I guess first, there are a variety of different lengths, magazine choices.
Let's talk about our subguns.
Setups, yeah.
Let's talk about our subguns.
I guess we'll talk about our shortest platforms right off the. Although I would say maybe your Centurion's shorter than your MP5 as it's set up right now.
Yes, but let's talk about. All right, so Matt built an MP5 recently.
I did. I've always wanted an MP5.
Very
and I've
Gucci.
never built one. Yeah.
Mine is an MP5. Both are Elite Force. That is using the VFC Avalon base.
Correct.
And this one is using the more affordable base, because they don't make an Avalon version of the MP5K.
They really need to get on.
But if you did Elite Force, I would buy that one. Just saying.
And an SD6, because I don't know how many people have written in, called in, asked about, to us in person, when are they making an SD? The word is that there's one in the works.
Well,
hold your breath.
Hold your breath.
Or don't hold your breath.
So what's actually kind of funny about both of these guns is they're both inspired pretty much by the same rules.
Right.
I built this for DFE last year, which had the SMG class, which enabled you to use full auto with no engagement distance, given that your gun shoots 1 joule, which this does. And you did it the same thing, except for the Battle Lab grand opening.
Correct. So at Battle Lab, there is a class called Breacher class, which allows you to shoot full auto with no minimum engagement distance, as long as you shoot under a joule, actually under 300 FPS with .2s. And there's a rate of fire cap at 30 rounds per second. So that's the intention.
Yeah, it's the same. Similar rules. The only difference with the Battle Lab rules is it actually applies to any gun as long as it meets that FPS requirement.
Correct.
Versus for DFE, it actually has to use a 9mm magazine.
Right. Or I guess a 45 magazine would count.
Or a 45 magazine. Correct. It cannot use a rifle caliber magazine.
Right.
Is the way it's structured. I don't know what else is.
So let's talk a little bit about externals, and purely based on the difference of the platform. With the full-sized MP5 or the A4 version, you have a couple different stock options. If you want to go with the A5 with the retractable stock, that's cool. Then your battery placement would be kind of funky. I picked the A4 because I like larger batteries in the stocks. But using an A4 or A5 platform full size gives you a little bit more options for mounting accessories like a flashlight and things like that. Now, I will say, as much as I love the shape of the MP5, flashlight grips in the front really suffer when it comes to lumens, light output, and the ability to mount other accessories to them. Yes, you can tape anything to them that your heart desires. You could tape a flashlight to your standard MP5 grip, and that's completely kosher and acceptable if that's your thing.
It's not my Dremel and then attach something. I'll
Absolutely.
explain why I did that in a moment.
Absolutely. For me, I wanted something that was a little bit more modular, so I put a Midwest Industries rail on, and thankfully, pushing our purchasing team to carry those. We carry these. We're going to be carrying more of them. We just ordered a bunch more. So if you want to do an MP5 like this, you could do that. I put a vertical grip on there. Some would argue that an MP5 doesn't need a vertical grip because it's so stubby and you're going to hold the mag well anyway. Cool.
Not true.
This is how I like to run mine. One thing I did encounter, also, you can thumb over bore an MP5 because this isn't a gas tube, and so it wouldn't get hot, and so in real life you could do that. But what I did find out is that even though I now have a really cool space to mount my flashlight, there really wasn't a convenient place to put the pressure switch because you have your charging handle here, and that gets in the way of a pressure switch. So I actually mounted mine on the lower 45, which means that on a right-handed grip, I'm actually depressing it with my middle finger. Chris, how you doing? I just blinded him. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's how I had to do mine. Now, running an MP5K gives you some advantages and some creative solutions like on your platform, right?
Well, the grip for the MP5K, I'm basically waiting for Magpul to release their MP5K furniture, and then this front will change.
Which they were supposed to announce at SHOT Show.
It was announced at SHOT Show 2 years ago,
okay.
Or 2019 SHOT Show. It was supposed to be delivered in 2019. It was not. Now it's pushed till spring. So Midwest and a few other companies do make MP5K rail mounts. I just don't like any of them and just want to be able to use that.
The Midwest K is a little ugly.
Yeah, the Magpul option when it's available. So for right now, it's basically just a get-it-on rail grip and basically just a Ranger band to just hold a pressure switch where I can use it just by gripping.
And that works.
So you can do it from either side.
Right. So you don't suffer the same problems that I do with mounting the pressure switch, because vertically mounted...
You could just mount it right here.
You're right, I could.
You could. You don't have to, but you could.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I mean...
and then we've both chosen the same style optic mount, which when you have an MP5 is really your only choice.
Yes, pretty much.
The claw mount.
The claw mount. And then the key difference is with my stock is it's, for one, very heavy, and I just blended matte.
It's okay.
And it's two, quickly removable, which I think yours is as well.
1 pin. Yeah.
But the nice thing is about the MP5K, I don't actually know, that MP5 also is quick change spring, but basically this one was modified to use a different gearbox so that way I can just change the spring out when I
Right.
So, but I think yours does that as well.
It does have a quick change spring. One note for people that are interested in getting an Elite Force MP5. If you've used an MP5 before and you're used to sliding off your stock pad to gain access to your battery compartment, don't do that. Don't do that. It's pinned in place. Trying to get it off will break it. Ask me how I know. I glued this back on. If you want access to your battery compartment, remove your body pin, shove your battery in from the front, put it back together. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Other than that, the only changes, so for this one, the barrel is
wow, that's
super long.
Yeah.
The reason is because a long time ago I used a friend's MP5K, and your barrel stock is that
3 inches?
Yeah, 3 inches. As you can see, Matt has a lot more rail, like double that. So since I already had this Pro Me laying around that was around this size, I just, okay, I'll just put the Gemtac on there, and it's spring-loaded, which is kind of nice.
And it allowed you to keep the 3-lug.
Yeah.
I wanted a little bit stubbier look. Removing the 3-lug and doing something custom took a lot of work that I don't know that I would repeat if I had to do it again.
But yours can use a tracer and mine can't.
That's true. If you want to use a tracer with an MP... Well, no, the Elite Force comes with a threaded... It's 14 mil threaded in front of the...
Yes, but like... I have to change the barrel. So this gun cannot use a tracer unit, which is a little disappointing. Well...
But it looks cool.
Yeah. But it can't use a tracer.
Someone needs to make a 3-lug that holds a tracer unit.
What I think needs to actually happen is I think people need to start designing tracer units where the light is portion at the end of the barrel, because that way you don't run into this issue.
Even here, I can't run a longer barrel up into this because it's at the back. Anyway, so that pretty much covers both of our
MP5s.
MP5s. There are tons of options out there for platforms this small or this compact. How you do them is completely up to you, but this is how we've done ours. MP5 gang. We're converting the whole market. Well, you've converted the entire marketing team. I think you were the first one to have an MP5 out of the group. And that inspired the rest of us to get MP5s because we all want to do SAS gang stuff.
No, it's just more than I just want to full one jewel people to the face with full auto.
Yeah. To the face.
To the face.
And then I guess that kind of brings us to the bread and butter of what we use most often. So I would say these are more specific case when we're playing indoors and we're playing for maybe DFE rules. And then by and large, I think you and I both use our AR platforms quite a bit more.
And yours is built. Ours are both built up to similar. I know yours is built up to an EPS style gun.
It is an EPS actually. So this
mine has a few upgrades along the EPS style. The gate, some modifications, better piston, but mostly kept the stock gearbox, which actually is an APS gearbox because the stock SEMA gearbox does not come with a quick change spring.
Oh, really?
Correct.
Interesting. Okay, so you can just drop a silver edge gearbox into an MP5? No modification?
No. Well, I don't think so. I don't think we did any mods.
No. Okay. Well, if you're interested in doing either one of those upgrades, pick up silver edge gearbox if you have one of the SEMA bodied earlier VF or earlier.
No, this is the one that we sell.
That's the current one.
Yeah,
okay.
The current one is an OEM is not VFC with the quick change spring. So
got it. And if you want something to perform similar to mine, then you can check out the EPS builds on our website. There's literally nothing different. All I did was throw the whole EPS package in here, and I'm very happy with the results. So what do we got next? We've got our, like I said, I guess our kind of our bread and butter, what we use the most often, huh?
Okay, most often. Most often.
Most often.
The heaviest gun on the table, probably. Well, I don't know.
Okay, so it was funny. We weighed these off camera. And they're really close, but they're heavier than I thought they were. Did you weigh George's? Well, okay, so tell us what it is so we can...
Chris was here. Wasn't that 9.1?
9...
We can weigh it right now.
It was like 9.2, 9.3.
So, okay, so so his is not the heaviest then. It's my stupid Mark 18.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's just surprising because the optic is the main
Right.
reason for the weight.
So it turns out the weight of them combined is pretty similar. Yeah, so you really aren't saving any weight going with them.
Well, I'm balancing it.
Put it on the stock. There it is. 9.1, 9.2.
Okay, 9.1. So one thing you're going to find out real quickly here is that by the time you get all your accessories on and the way you set it up, the way you like it, you're really about 9 pounds on an AR AEG. So tell me about everything. First of all, rarely do you see Magpul lowers anymore.
Oh yeah, no, these don't exist anymore.
Super unique. It was something that was really fashionable a couple years ago, and now you just can't find them. So if you have a Magpul receiver, build it because they're cool. So talk about what decisions you've made and where you use this most often.
This has been used for several years, probably as long as your 416 for the most part. In terms of the decision-making process, I've used these. Bodies are made by Gmp for PTS a long time ago. They are very hard to find now. The body still exists. I'm surprised that it's actually held up as well as it has.
And almost without a scratch.
I don't know how, but
yeah,
maybe because it's a tan body, so it hides the scratches a little better. So we just, it went with a two-tone build on it for, I don't know why, it just kind of ended up that way. It wasn't intentional, it just kind of just mix-mash pieces together. Gearbox-wise, just internally really quick, it's basically comparable to an EPS gun right now. So it just doesn't have a blue trigger because this was well before we started doing those. Centurion rail, I switched to these rails on both of my guns probably about a while, like 5 years ago. When they came out, I like them so much. I have my real AR that's basically this exact gun with the only difference of it being OD versus tan.
Right, right.
So other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same. This one uses a lot higher performance external parts than my MP5. This is probably the only airsoft gun I have that uses an actual Surefire light.
Right, okay.
Because it uses the actual vampire head, which is the IR/visible. So it's the IR compliant one where you just swap it really quick.
Well, so now that's convenient for you because you've done quite a few Nielsen games where you have used night vision. So that's actually applicable.
Correct. So so first off, it's using the Gmp lasers, which is great for airsoft. You know, for a simple, I do recommend getting the single point lasers, meaning it just has an IR pointer and a laser pointer, not the illuminator. The illuminator one is pretty much, the illuminator's trash.
Right.
Like it just doesn't do anything. I'd definitely recommend getting a light, and if you want an IR illuminator, you definitely need to get Surefire. Or like a real light, like the
Side note about the G&Ps, they're very, very powerful. So be very aware of where you're pointing these. Don't shine them in people's eyes.
Always use them at the low power setting. I never use them at the high power setting. You can put regular filters over them to dim it a little bit. I think I measured the light, and it's basically the same as my real D-ball.
Okay.
To be honest with you, it's at the low setting.
Now here's something I have always been real impressed by on this build is you were able to use the G&P with a commonly available pressure switch option. So you've done a modification to this to make that work,
Actually,
right?
Yeah, it's really easy. So this is the Night Evolution clone of the Surefire dual switch. All you do is basically take your pressure switch for your GMP, which uses like a standard stereo-looking cable.
Right.
You cut that up, and then you cut this
because
up.
The one in the Night Evolution is
and all
the
you
smaller.
do is just make sure that the cable, you just rewrap them and then shrink wrap them and make it look all, a little bit of solder, and it works just fine.
Because really, the pressure switch that comes with the G&Ps is trash. Like it's small, it's inconvenient. I don't like it at all.
So. Yeah, no, what's nice is pretty much everything on here is set up the way the real rifle is, which is kind of cool, just different color.
Now this one's a pretty long barrel, so you must...
So this is based off of a 16-inch barrel.
Okay.
So I chose that mainly because the inner barrel I had lying around that I wanted to use a 400 millimeter, so I had to extend it to
so you've got range.
Yes, so this thing shoots far.
Thus the LPVO you're also using.
Yes. But this is actually going to be switched out soon. I have another optic that I'm going to be trying from Sun Optics that is similar in form factor. We'll be carrying the brand very soon on our website, but I was very impressed by their short dot, and I'm going to be trying it out before I move it to my real rifle.
Cool. I mean, hey, that's the best place to test it, right, is actually in where you'd be shooting at people.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then pretty much we've been using these stocks.
I was going to say, you and I, yeah.
For a
We've
long
got a
time.
favorite stock.
The PTS EPS stock is, we just found it for the batteries that we use, it just makes the most sense. It's the easiest to work with. It was the solution I had when I was using a Chimera MOSFET versus the Spectre when it had like the buffer tube. I couldn't use a buffer tube battery, so it definitely made things a lot easier to work with.
All right, do you want to
go ahead?
Talk about any internal upgrades you've done other than the gate?
I will say that the Pro-Win hop-up that comes with the EPS package definitely is, it's not even that expensive, and holy smokes, very nice hop-up.
All right, so I guess I'll talk about my 416 a little bit. I can't even remember which hop-up we have in here. Oh, it's not even a good, all right, so, it's not even an upgrade. All right, so this is my 416, a little history. I love the 416, and I've had one for about as long as I've been playing Airsoft. Aside from, the rail and the stuff I've got on the rail, it's pretty basic. I've got an SMR replica rail up here. Also have the fly is in my face. I've also got a D-ball on here, but to be honest, it's on there for looks. I never use it. I don't use night vision because I'm a wuss.
No, you just don't play very many night games where you have the ability to use it. That's all.
Yeah, and then
if you have the ability to use it and you play a bunch of night games, you'll be like, oh man, I need a laser.
I don't know. And then I've got a Streamlight ProTac HL up here, which is 1,000 lumens.
It's a bright light.
It is a very bright light, and online you'll read people telling you that you really don't need bright lights for room clearing and you'll get
don't.
bounce and
That's
blind you and
true,
stuff. But at the end of the day, I've got a flashlight on here to blind my opponent, and I want the brightest thing I can afford on there. And I like that the Streamlight is a very good flashlight without costing as much as a Surefire.
No, the cost between your light and this light is dramatically different.
Other than that, I've got an MRR replica up here. I've got, again, the EPS stock and a sling. All of my slings, all of my attachments are kind of able to bounce around between all my AEG platforms because they use the same mounting systems, and that includes my mock suppressor. So the mock suppressor I use has a tracer unit that I 3D printed a cage for and modified it to fit in here. And I like that because I can take this tracer unit off and not have to worry about being able to put it on a different rifle or worry about having to charge it. I don't need to unthread my flash hider. And so this one unit works on all my guns, and I really like that. I just wish there were more options like that in Airsoft. The fact that I had to 3D print it was super disappointing.
Well, maybe somebody will come out with a product one day that really kind of
solves all those issues.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can always just drop the new G&G one like in an existing suppressor, right?
True.
Other than that, I've got a Real Strike Industries bolt release that doesn't do anything because I ruined the heat treat on it with a blowtorch and then cut it off, and then realized that I cut too much off of it, and so it doesn't function anymore because I had to glue a piece of credit card to the back of it so that it wouldn't flop around while I was running.
You did way too much.
It was too much. And then I've got a Magpul enhanced mag release for quicker mag release or mag changes. Internally, it's fully upgraded. I don't really even remember what we did to it. I know that we used a Spectre as opposed to a gate MOSFET. I didn't do any hop-up upgrades except I think this is a Prometheus hop-up unit. Nothing to write home about. The Pro-In is far superior. Rotary style hop-ups are just superior.
Yeah, no, it's, and the nice thing is you're able to throw them into almost every gun now.
Exactly.
Like it's not like before where you had to probably remove your dust cover or mock bolt. It's a lot more. You can use it now with even a GMP gun like it is here, so or GMP base.
This one is chronoing right at 349 FPS. It's like right under the 350, and it'll also, well, this one's actually up at like 35 rounds a second or 36, something like that. I have another 416 that does 51 a second, but I can't use it anywhere. So I don't even bring it out because there's no point. We built it. Ryan and I had an adventure. It uses a 14.8 and like kills the battery immediately. I just hate it. I hate that gun.
And you know, you guys wired it wrong in the beginning.
Oh yeah. And then it was wired wrong. It was just a lot. So there you go.
Pointing at you.
That's it. Vanna White. There's my.
So what's interesting is like thinking of slings for a moment. Matt uses 2-point slings on almost all of his guns.
Convertibles. The
Convertibles.
2-to-1s. Yeah.
2-to-1s.
Yeah.
So
all right.
2.1 points are great. Using 1 points while you're moving around is probably my favorite, and then using a 2-point for carrying.
For literally everything else.
I do not like to engage in a 2-point because it makes my transition to my offhand a lot slower. So I prefer not to do that, and that's kind of something that I suggest to people who are like dedicated 2 points. Having a 2-point while you're climbing, or honestly when you don't want to carry your gun with one hand, or you just want to sling it, those are great. That's what it's designed for. But when you're actually doing, like when you're doing a battle of some kind, or you want to move into rooms, or you want to be able to switch hands quickly, you definitely need to be on a 1-point.
Well, 2 ways to get around that. Instead of going under your arm when you're in a firefight with a 2-point sling, just go around your neck, and then you got plenty of room to do what you need to, and then Pat McNamara elbow that down.
But switch sides.
Well, so then second solution, don't switch sides. I don't. Like I said, George is a better shooter than I am. So yeah, there you go. Do you want to talk about your other AR, or you want to talk about your AK?